A woman who lives alone without a boyfriend is not lonely. She is powerful. Let me tell you something. Society has lied to a lot of women. It told you that your value increases when a man chooses you. It told you that being single means something is missing. But let me correct that right now. Being alone is not a weakness. It is a season of preparation. A woman who can live alone, pay her own bills, protect her own peace, and sleep at night without needing validation from somebody else. That's strength. That's confidence. That's independence. See, too many people jump into relationships because they're afraid of silence. They're afraid of eating alone. They're afraid of not having someone to text goodnight. But a woman who is comfortable by herself, she is dangerous in the best way, because when she finally chooses a man, she's not choosing him out of need. She's choosing him out of desire. There's a difference. Need says, I can't live without you. Strength says, I can live without you, but I'd like to build with you. When a woman learns how to enjoy her own company, she raises her standards. She stops begging for attention. She stops accepting half love. She stops competing with other women. Why? Because she knows her worth isn't on sale. Being alone gives you clarity. It gives you time to heal from past heartbreak. It gives you space to grow. It gives you the opportunity to discover who you are without somebody else's opinion shaping you. And let me tell you something else. The right man is not intimidated by a woman who can stand on her own. The wrong one is, if a man is scared of your independence, your success, your peace, then he was never meant to lead beside you. A real man doesn't look for a woman to control. He looks for a partner. So if you are a woman living alone without a boyfriend, don't lower your standards just to say you have somebody. Don't rush the process just because everybody else is posting engagement pictures. Your timeline is yours. Let me tell you something about a woman who lives alone without a boyfriend. People see her and they make assumptions. They whisper things like, why is she still single? Or maybe she's too picky. But what they don't understand is that sometimes being alone is not a problem. It's a decision. And there is power in that decision. A woman who wakes up every morning in her own space, pays her own bills, makes her own choices, and answers to nobody but God, and herself is not lacking anything, she is building. She is learning. She is growing into a version of herself that doesn't depend on validation from anyone else. And that takes courage. It takes strength to sit in your own company and be at peace with who you are. See, a lot of people rush into relationships because they are afraid of silence. Silence makes you face yourself. Silence forces you to deal with your insecurities, your past mistakes, your fears. But a woman who chooses to live alone is choosing to confront those things head on. She's choosing healing over distraction. She's choosing growth over comfort. And that's not weakness, that's maturity. When a woman learns how to enjoy her own presence, something shifts inside her. She stops begging for attention. She stops accepting half effort and half love. She stops shrinking herself just to make someone else feel bigger. Why? Because she realizes she is already enough. She doesn't need a boyfriend to prove her worth. Her worth was established long before any man entered the picture. Living alone teaches discipline. It teaches responsibility. It teaches self-respect. There's no one else to blame if the rent isn't paid. There's no one else to fix the broken sink. There's no one else to motivate her when she feels tired. She learns how to handle life on her own. And when you can handle life on your own, you don't tolerate chaos from someone else. Let me tell you something else. When a woman doesn't need a man, she chooses better. She doesn't choose out of desperation. She doesn't choose the first person who shows interest. She waits. She observes. She listens. She asks herself, does this man add peace to my life, or does he bring confusion? Because when you're already stable alone, you can feel the difference immediately. There's a different kind of confidence that comes from independence. It's quiet. It's not loud or arrogant. It doesn't need to prove anything. It's the confidence of knowing that if someone walks away, you will still be okay. And that energy changes everything. People treat you differently when they know you don't need them to survive. A woman living alone also has time to discover herself. What does she really enjoy? What are her passions? What are her dreams? Too often, women lose themselves inside relationships, adjusting their goals and personalities to fit someone else's expectations. But when you're alone, you get to build your identity without compromise. You get to decide who you are without outside pressure. And let's be honest, not every relationship is healthy. Some relationships drain you. Some distract you from your purpose. Some lower your standards. A woman who is comfortable alone would rather have peace than drama. She would rather have solitude than stress. She understands that temporary loneliness is better than permanent misery. Being alone doesn't mean she's cold. It doesn't mean she doesn't want love. It simply means she respects herself enough to wait for the right kind. She's not interested in attention that disappears when it's inconvenient. She's not interested in promises that don't turn into action. She's interested in consistency, loyalty, respect. When the right man eventually shows up, he won't find a broken woman looking to be saved. He'll find a whole woman who has already saved herself. And that kind of woman doesn't ask, will you complete me? She asks, can we build something meaningful together? That's a completely different mindset. So never look at a woman who lives alone without a boyfriend and think she is missing something. She might be in her strongest season. She might be developing discipline, building her career, strengthening her faith, and protecting her peace. She might be becoming the best version of herself so that when love does come, she can meet it from a place of power, not fear. There is dignity in waiting. There is strength in independence. There is growth in solitude. And a woman who understands that will never lower her standards just to avoid being alone. She knows that being alone is not the absence of love, it is the preparation for the right one. Let me talk to you about independence, increasing your value, not decreasing it. Because somewhere along the way, society convinced a lot of women that the longer you stay single, the less valuable you become. That is one of the biggest lies ever told. Your value does not go down because you are not in a relationship. If anything, when you use your single season wisely, your value goes up. See, value is not determined by who chooses you. Value is determined by who you are when nobody is choosing. It's about how you carry yourself when there's no applause, no compliments, no romantic distractions. A woman who stands strong on her own, who builds her life brick by brick without leaning on a man's shoulder for stability, increases her worth in ways most people don't even see. When you are independent, you develop skills that dependency never teaches you. You learn how to manage your finances. You learn how to solve your own problems. You learn how to protect your peace. You learn how to say no without guilt. Every one of those lessons adds to your value, because now when someone enters your life, they are not meeting someone who is searching for rescue. They are meeting someone who is already capable. There is something powerful about a woman who doesn't need constant reassurance to feel secure. When you know how to validate yourself. Fifth, you stop chasing attention. You stop entertaining disrespect just because you're afraid of being alone. Independence gives you standards, and standards automatically raise your value. Think about it like this. When something is rare and well maintained, it becomes more valuable. A woman who takes time to grow emotionally, spiritually, and financially is investing in herself. She's reading. She's learning. She's healing from past trauma. She's improving her mindset. That kind of woman is not losing value. She is appreciating over time. Now let's be real. Some people are intimidated by independence, not because it's wrong, but because it exposes their weaknesses. A man who needs control might feel uncomfortable around a woman who can stand on her own. A man who lacks direction might feel insecure next to a woman with vision. But that intimidation is not your problem. It's simply proof that you are operating at a higher level. Independence also teaches you emotional control. When you're alone, you face your thoughts. You deal with your fears. You confront your insecurities. That process makes you stronger. And emotional strength is one of the most valuable qualities anyone can have in a relationship. A woman who has mastered her emotions is less likely to tolerate manipulation, less likely to beg for attention, less likely to lose herself. There's a confidence that comes from knowing you can survive on your own. It changes the way you walk into a room. It changes the way you communicate. It changes the way you love. You love from a place of choice, not from fear. And love given freely, not desperately, is always more powerful. Independence doesn't mean you reject partnership. It means you don't depend on it for identity. You could desire companionship without needing it to feel complete. That mindset protects you from settling. When you know you are capable alone, you won't accept someone who brings confusion, inconsistency, or disrespect into your life. A woman who builds her career, strengthens her faith, takes care of her body, and invests in her personal growth during her single season is increasing her overall value. She is becoming disciplined. She is becoming wise. She is becoming selective. And selectiveness is a sign of self-worth, not arrogance. The world may try to pressure you. Family might ask questions. Friends might post engagement photos and wedding pictures. Social media might make it seem like everyone else is coupled up and moving forward. But your timeline is not a measure of your value. Growth is. Peace is. Self-respect is. When independence becomes your foundation, you stop fearing abandonment. You stop tolerating half-hearted effort. You stop shrinking to keep someone comfortable. Instead, you stand firm in who you are. And the right person, when they come along, won't see your independence as a threat. They'll see it as an asset. Because a woman who has built herself up doesn't come empty-handed into a relationship. She brings stability. She brings wisdom. She brings emotional maturity. She brings strength. And that kind of presence elevates any partnership. So never believe the lie that being single lowers your value. If you are growing, learning, healing, and building, your value is increasing every single day. Independence is not a sign that you are unwanted. It is proof that you are preparing for something better. Let me tell you something powerful about choosing love from desire, not from need. There is a big difference between wanting someone and needing someone. When you need someone, you give them power over your peace. When you want someone, you give them access to your joy. And those two positions create completely different relationships. A woman who lives alone and has learned how to, and on her own, understands this deeply. She knows what it feels like to wake up and rely on her own strength. She knows how to comfort herself on hard days. She knows how to celebrate her wins without waiting for applause. So when she considers letting someone into her life, she's not looking for survival. She's looking for partnership. Need comes from fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of being unloved. Fear of missing out while everyone else seems happy. And fear makes you settle. It makes you ignore red flags. It makes you accept behavior you normally wouldn't tolerate. When you need someone, you start negotiating your standards. You tell yourself, maybe it's not that bad. You convince yourself that inconsistency is normal. You silence your intuition because you're afraid of going back to being alone. But desire is different. Desire is calm. Desire is control. Desire says, I like you. I enjoy your presence. But my life is already stable. When you desire someone instead of needing them, you are free to walk away if respect disappears. You are free to say no if effort fades. You are free to protect your peace because your identity is not attached to the relationship. A woman who chooses from desire has already done the inner work. She has healed from past heartbreak. She has forgiven herself for mistakes. She has built confidence through independence. So she doesn't look at a man and think, you are my only chance at happiness. She looks at him and thinks, are you aligned with the life I'm building? That question alone changes everything. When you choose from need, you focus on how someone makes you feel in the moment. When you choose from desire, you focus on who they are consistently. Need chases chemistry. Desire examines character. Need falls in love with attention. Desire pays attention to actions. And here's the truth. Relationships built on need-o. Fin become heavy, they become full of pressure and insecurity. If you need someone to feel complete, you will constantly fear losing them. You will overthink small changes. But you will tolerate disrespect because the thought of starting over feels unbearable. That kind of love is exhausting. But when you choose from desire, there is freedom. You can love openly without fear controlling you. You can appreciate someone without clinging to them. You can enjoy their presence without making them your entire world. That balance creates healthier connections. A woman who has learned to live alone understands that loneliness won't destroy her. She's already faced it. She's already faced it. She's already survived quiet nights and solo weekends. She's already proven to herself that she can stand alone and still smile. That knowledge removes desperation. And when desperation leaves, clarity arrives. Clarity helps you see red flags early. It helps you recognize inconsistency. It helps you walk away from potential heartbreak before it becomes permanent damage. Because you're not thinking, I can't lose this. You're thinking, if this isn't right, something better will come. Choosing from desire also means you bring more to the table. You're not empty, asking someone to fill your gaps. You're full, inviting someone to share your abundance. You bring emotional stability, not emotional chaos. You bring purpose, not confusion. You bring peace, not pressure. And let me say this clearly. Wanting love is natural. Desiring companionship is human. There's nothing wrong with hoping for a partner. The strength comes in refusing to let that hope turn into desperation. The strength comes in saying, I would love to build with someone, but I refuse to lose myself to do it. When a woman reaches that mindset, she becomes selective. Not arrogant, not cold, just intentional. She listens carefully. She watches activity. She values consistency over sweet words. She understands that attraction is important, but alignment is essential. Love chosen from desire feels lighter. It feels respectful. It feels mutual. Both people stand on their own feet, choosing each other daily. There's no control, no begging, no constant fear of abandonment. Just two whole individuals. deciding to walk side by side. And that is the power of not needing someone to survive. Because when you don't need them, you are free to truly love them. Let's dive into why raising your standards when you know your worth is one of the most important things a woman living alone can do. Too many people settle because they don't realize their own value. They accept less than they deserve because they're afraid of being alone. They compromise their peace, their dreams, their happiness, just to have someone fill the space. But the truth is, lowering your standards doesn't make you lovable. It diminishes your life. When a woman truly understands her worth, she refuses to tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or half-hearted effort. She knows that attention without action is meaningless. She knows that words without loyalty are empty. She knows that compromise doesn't mean sacrificing her core values. That kind of self-awareness comes from experience, from living life alone long enough to understand that her happiness is her responsibility, not someone else's. And once she reaches that level of understanding, she refuses to settle. Raising your standards isn't about being arrogant or unapproachable. It's about clarity. It's about knowing what is acceptable and what is not. It's about understanding that your energy, your time, and your heart are precious resources that should be invested wisely. A woman who lives alone has the time to reflect on what she truly wants, what she will not compromise on, and what kind of partnership will genuinely complement her life. That reflection strengthens her intuition and her decision making. Think about it. When you've learned how to survive alone, you don't rely on anyone else to fill your gaps. You don't need constant validation to feel confident. You don't need someone else's approval to define your beauty, your intelligence, or your success. That independence naturally leads to higher standards because you're no longer desperate. You no longer accept just anyone's effort to prove that you're lovable. You are already lovable. You simply choose carefully who is worthy of your time and energy. When you raise your standards, you also teach people how to treat you. The way you set boundaries sends a message that your peace cannot be negotiated. If someone consistently disrespects those boundaries, it's no longer a reflection of your harshness. It's a reflection of your self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. People who are genuinely aligned with your values will be drawn to it, while those who are not will naturally drift away. That separation is not rejection, it is protection. Raising your standards also gives you space to focus on personal growth. When you are not distracted by the wrong person, you can invest your energy in yourself, your career, your goals, your health, your faith, your skills. Every moment spent with someone unworthy is a moment lost that could have been spent strengthening your life. By insisting on quality, you are effectively buying time for yourself to evolve, to mature, and to prepare for the kind of love that complements your life rather than complicates it. A woman with high standards knows that love is not a competition. She doesn't settle because her friends are coupled, because social media shows engagement after engagement, or because she feels pressure from family. She understands that a meaningful relationship doesn't happen on someone else's timeline. It happens when the right person aligns with her life, her values, and her vision. And she knows that waiting for that alignment is not a loss, it is an investment. Knowing your worth also makes you less tolerant of manipulation and control. You won't excuse inconsistency. You won't accept excuses that undermine your peace. You won't beg for attention or compromise your self-esteem for fleeting affection. That discernment comes from a deep understanding of your own value and the realization that every moment of your life is too precious to waste on someone who doesn't genuinely contribute to your happiness. When you raise your standards, you also raise the quality of your life, not just in relationships, but in everything you do, your career, your friendships, your environment. You begin to attract situations, people, and experiences that match the energy and value you carry. It's a ripple effect that starts with knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it. Ultimately, raising your standards is a form of empowerment. It's a declaration that you will no longer accept mediocrity in any area that matters to your life. It's a commitment to yourself to live fully, fiercely, and deliberately. And when love enters that life, it will do so not out of desperation, but out of mutual respect, alignment, and shared strength. A woman who knows her worth and refuses to compromise is unstoppable. She doesn't chase. She doesn't plead. She doesn't settle. She waits for the love that meets her where she already stands, whole, strong, and uncompromising.